All right, we are live on Open Season. We got all the fellas: Billy Allen, Justin Elaine, Alex Tordai, and every week we try to just say that we're going to talk about other things in sports, but as every week happens, and we can't talk about anything else but The Last Dance, we're going to just talk about The Last Dance, episodes 7 and 8. And for me, I thought that they really tried to make like more of Jordan's baseball ability. I guess let's start with his father's death and him going to baseball. I think they tried to make a lot more out of his baseball ability than what he actually had. Like Terry Francona was like, with another 1,500 at bats, this guy could have been in the pros. And I felt like Jordan was like, he was not good at baseball at all. I don't think he was showing promise that he could be a great hitter. What did you guys think about that?
I mean, most, like they said in the documentary, most guys when they get drafted, they go to single A. They've been playing for a long time. He hadn't played baseball in 10 years. He went right into double A, and the spotlight is on him every single day. Do I think he would have got to the majors? I mean, probably because he's Michael Jordan. Do I think he deserved to get there? Probably not, but he did hit 200, and he hadn't played baseball in 10 years. And, like, what baseball did he play? Like, they didn't go into – what did he play, like AAU? Like, what did he play? Like,
yeah.
All of a sudden he decides to play baseball, and, I mean, he hadn't played 10 years, and I mean, they agree. They made it a little bit more than what it was, though.
Yeah. I mean, I just thought, there are a lot of impressive things to take with that. But one of the things I just took away was like Terry Francona was just like, kind of making it seem like he just had a lot of upside in baseball. And I didn't really think that was the case. Tordai?
I disagree.
You disagree?
I disagree. I think Jordan had what it took. I think that you look at him as a transcendent athlete in the sport of basketball. He had all the tools. He did. I mean, he could hit. He could field. I mean, really, his breaking ball hitting was what they outlined in the documentary that really hurt his average. He was rocking it off fastballs to start his career, and then they figured out, all right.
Jordan's he had a 13-game hit streak to start out, right?
I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Guy had the mechanics down. I think that you give him more time with his work ethic. I think Terry Francona, I mean, I don't think he was embellishing. I really think Francona saw the greatness that Jordan had to offer there. And I think Jordan would have made his way into the MLB. Probably could have even been an all-star if he worked hard enough at it, which I think he was. I think he was probably the hardest working player. Terry.
When we're talking 1,500 at bats, we're talking like another 7 years or something, right? Like we're kind of saying Jordan would have taken Jordan. Like, would he have failed for that long? How long do you think? So you're saying he could have been an all-star. How long do you think that path would be?
I don't know if he'd be an all-star, but however, if you look at like fourth outfielders on major league rosters, are any of them hitting like 300? They're athletic, like fourth outfielders.
That's
like,
true.
If he kept getting better and he was like a 240 hitter and he's athletic, he can play outfield, he could have made the majors. I don't think that's unimaginable. Do I think he would have been an all-star? I don't know. I think if he had gone to baseball maybe like 4 or 5 years earlier, it's just he's starting at 32 and he's playing against 18-year-olds. It's a completely different thing.
I mean, part of him being an all-star, when I say that, isn't about his skill level necessarily as much as it is he's going to win the fan vote.
Brock Holt was an all-star, man. Brock Holt was a big deal.
Yeah.
Everyone who plays in Boston, if he played in Boston, he'd get in on the fan vote. There was like a 5 year stretch where like every guy was getting in from Boston.
Oh yeah.
Let's see, but I don't know. So you guys think that he could be a decent baseball player overall if he had the time?
I mean, if you think about minor leagues, Double A is the hardest level there is in the minors.
That's like, where you put your best guys.
Yeah, exactly. It's not Triple A, it's Double A. He went right to Double A, and he was 32 and hit 200. He hadn't played in 10 years.
I guess when you put it like that.
What did Tim Tebow do when he came back? He went to Single A. He had to work his way up. And he's still like a 200 hitter, and he's been doing it for 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah. And he
I
probably played a lot more
Like
recently
that
than Jordan.
that scene where he's talking to one of the hitters, and he's like, "What time are you gonna be here tomorrow?" 7:30. He's like, "Okay, I'll be here." And like he just switched on him. He's like, "All right, I'm gonna start working hard at this."
Well, like
And-
Francona could say, like, he was like, when people were like doubting his commitment or something, he's like, I took like one look at him and could tell like he was tuned into baseball.
Yeah, they didn't also go into the fact that on the ESPN documentary they did with Francona and him a couple years ago. Like he bought the team a bus. Like he did all these things for all the guys because those guys are making 40 grand a year. He's a millionaire. He went above and beyond to like just be one of the guys, and they all respect him because of it.
I know, you could kind of see that was like one of the first times he was like a human, really. Like the death of his father kind of brought on so many different things. Like you could really see that was the first time it was kind of like he was a loner almost. And like his father was really like his best friend. Like they always said Jordan never had a posse. And like that's true. Like he was kind of had like his dad, and he was like obsessed with basketball.
Did you
And
see
it was
that guy,
like-
that Jerry Curls, the security guard?
Yeah.
He was posse.
Yeah.
That guy's a
No,
legend.
the quarter throwing guys. Yeah.
That guy's a legend. How is he in Michael Jordan's circle? God only knows.
That's probably, you probably get so much money to just be in Jordan's circle too. It's got to
Oh,
be
yeah.
like a great life. You can probably just definitely live off it.
Lots of Buicks. You want one? You got it.
So yeah, and then I thought it was funny. Like everybody's taking like the one thing out of context. I think the biggest thing is him laughing about the gloves defense on him.
Oh,
What did you guys think about that part? I thought the glove played like decent defense, but it's just kind of like, no, he played good defense on him, and he was doing like the right thing. But it's just like, even when you hold LeBron to, like you say, like Kawhi Leonard held LeBron like in check, it's like you're still scoring like 25. Like you can only hold those guys in check to like so much, like Jordan was still scoring like 30. Like when you say like you're holding them in check, I think his averages, they said after like the first 2 games, like did go down to like, I think he might average like 22 and 8 or something the rest of the series, they said. But I mean, I think that's more of a function of him playing like better team basketball, which never really seemed to hurt the Bulls.
Totally agree. I think that you're dead on with that. I think Gary Payton absolutely is one of the best defensive players of all time. He definitely had an impact on Jordan. Having said that, was he neutralizing Jordan? Absolutely not. Jordan's still putting up 23 points. It's not like he took him out of the game and was shutting him down to being a 10, 15 point per game scorer. And he's still Michael Jordan out there. He just might have not been, having been able to have the full impact of Michael with Gary on him. But that's a terrible decision by George Karl, taking the best defensive player you have on your team and saying you're not guarding Michael Jordan. Like, what are you thinking? Do you think he's not going to cook whoever's on him, much less like someone that's not Gary Payton?
Exactly. It's like you got a guy named the Glove, but use that guy on Jordan.
Yeah.
Do you know who the new glove is, Billy? Marcus Smart.
Is it who?
Marcus Smart. Gary Payton said any player today, he want to be Marcus Smart.
He said he's the new Glove.
No, he just said like in today's game, he's as close to Gary Payton. That just means that the difference of defense between then and now is so great, and Smart's one of the only players that actually plays defense.
Smart's like one of the only guys that'll like body you actually and like make you work for your entire. I was gonna think I thought you were gonna say Pat Beverly because I know you love him.
No, I mean I would rather have Pat Beverly and Marcus Smart, but no. I respect Marcus Smart's game. I just wish he didn't shoot the ball as much.
Here's the thing. It's like it's one of those situations where Marcus is our best defensive player, and he doesn't always guard the best offensive player on the other team. It doesn't always happen. There's series when Jaylen Brown, Tatum, these other guys get a chance to guard people, and I think it goes both ways with the offensive load, and that's part of Brad Stevens' system. He doesn't want guys to have defined roles, and he's more in tune with having a well-rounded approach to all facets of the game and the offense and defense. But I definitely understand what you're saying. He jacks a lot of
I mean,
ridiculous.
how many times in a game do you watch him pull up like Terry Rozier style? It's like a 3-on-1. He pulls up for three. It's a brick. And like
He does seem to have no conscience whatsoever with shot selection.
But at the
It's
end of
like
the game,
he cannot tell the difference between a good shot
he'll
and
make a
bad
big
shot.
play, and he'll like win the game, and everyone loves him. And like it's great what he does. His role is undeniable for this team, and we do need him. But then everyone forgets the first, 3.5 quarters where he shot 3 of 13 from three. Again, it's a roller coaster with him every game.
I just think there's so many
But
times
even
where
in the
they
playoffs.
emphasize the winning play that he makes, but they don't emphasize the losing play, like, the free throw that he might have missed or the ball that he might have tapped out of bounds. They're always like winning play. That's how you kind of qualify his impact. There's really no other way you don't say he steals the most or he does all that. And I get like stat padding is like one thing or whatever. Not all the best defenders average the most steals, but there's not really a good way to quantify what he is other than saying like he makes winning plays. Like I feel like that's what people.
If you look at like the teams in the East, like the 76ers will never win a championship because they don't have a player like that when it comes to playoff time. They have a bunch of soft players. They had Jimmy Butler last year. Like if he stayed, I think they could get to the finals. They don't have any toughness. You need toughness when it comes to playoffs, and he's our tough guy. I wish we had Baines still too. He was a tough guy too, but
yeah, I wish we had Baines too. I mean, he's completely gone out of this world in Phoenix this year. He's averaging like 15, 5. I mean, I think he had a game where I believe he scored like 31 and hit like 5 threes in the first quarter or something. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he had 5 threes in the first quarter.
I'll never forget the first time I saw him shoot a three. I'm like, what are you doing? And then it went in, and then it went in, and then went in. It's like, oh my God, this guy can actually shoot threes. And he's wide open. No one's covering him.
Why did we let him go? Was it a salary cap issue? I feel like we could have retained him, but because we were still trying to get Al Horford, he thought Horford was coming back, so we walked. Like, what happened there?
It's like $5 million to the Suns. We gave up that contract. And then I think we then turned that money into Cantor, which Cantor, before he got hurt, was a difference maker on this team. When he came in, he made a difference. But
and then he just like went off the block.
Yeah,
he got hurt. I don't know what happened to Cantor.
He's on the side of a milk carton right now. Or for the last like 20 games.
He doesn't even play like in big minutes anymore.
They were playing Tice way over him.
Tice has been freaking one of the best values in the whole NBA this year.
Yeah.
What's he making 6? What's Horford making 34?
Having said that, Tice is a backup center.
Of course. But in this system, it works. Like Brad's system, this big guy has to shoot threes.
Yeah.
Horford did it. Baines did it. Tice did it. Robert Williams will never do it.
I'll be shocked if Robert Williams isn't our starter next year. I think going forward, he was hurt all this year. I think he probably would have already overtaken the starting role potentially. The tough part is he's still a little bit slow on his rotations. For all the defensive potential he has and all the natural gifts he has, he needs to sharpen, his actual mindset, I think, a little bit more, and he'll be one of those guys leading the league in blocks.
I wish he would watch like this documentary and watch Rodman, like how he went to go up playing defense and rebounding, because so many times he's out there, Williams, and he just is so lost. But he'll make an awesome block. But you watch it and the picks, like the switches, he just has like people have to tell him where to go. And it's like, come on, man, you've been in the league 2 years now. The potential is off the charts, but he's always hurt. And he's physically there. He's just not mentally there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like him as a prospect, honestly. I think they had a plan to take him from I think they wanted to take him from 8 minutes to 15 minutes to 25. And I think the thought was when he gets to 25, he could be like that defensive player of the year type with that many minutes. And he was on pace before he got hurt. He was on that schedule of 15 minutes. So it'll be really interesting to see what he can give us next year. If he can take that additional jump, if he can take the same jump he took from his rookie to sophomore year, that would be nice to see out of him.
If the NBA comes back, he's sat out for so long, he should be fully healthy at this point.
If JaVale McGee can make it in the NBA, Robert Williams can make it in the NBA.
I love JaVale McGee.
He's a success story for us all.
He does not play a lick of defense.
He can do it. Anyone can do it. Freak athlete.
He's part of the, like, I heard this stat that if you're 7 feet tall, you have a 17% chance to make the NBA. Just off, like, there's not that many 7-footers in the world. Like, so I think he is one of those guys that, like, abides by that rule. It's like he's a 7-footer, so he's in the NBA. Like,
No 7-footer, I wish that made it. Like, I don't know where he is now, but Thon Maker. Is he on the Pistons now? I'll take that guy in 2K.
He went to Detroit, didn't he?
Yeah,
He has all the athletic ability. Like, why doesn't he play? He's
who
better than Robert Williams.
do you start with? The Bucks?
Yeah, the
He was
Bucks.
with the Bucks, and he just couldn't do anything. Yeah.
And then the Pistons moved Andre Drummond to the Cavs so that Thon Maker could grow into the role.
God, you get traded to the Pistons. Kiss your career goodbye.
Yeah, it stinks to go there. Blake Griffin got that notice.
Yeah, he got screwed.
Sign that contract to LA. No, we're gonna trade you to Detroit instead.
Hey
I
man,
never understood what the Cavs were doing, getting Drummond. Like, what are the Cavs doing that? They're a young, rebuilding team.
Try to get rid of Thompson. He
enormous
wouldn't
contract.
waive his-
Andre
he wouldn't waive his
Drummond
clause.
25 years old. He still has a lot of time, and he's coming into his prime. You could argue that the Cavs are looking at this as a true building block for the future. He's starting to learn how to shoot threes. I mean,
Drummond is?
If Drummond could hit threes,
then he'd be a pro.
I just feel like in today's NBA, your best player can't be the center.
Well, I think we all agree that, but I'd imagine the Cavs have more moves to make, have high hopes for Darius Garland. Obviously, Sexton is, kind of a bulldog of a player, but he's one that I think can be very effective.
He won't be able to do anything
yeah,
until
he went up
Love's
to 20 points a game this year. I mean, quietly. Sexton was there.
Sexton's damn good. I really think he's going to be he's a freaking ball hog out there. Like, he tore us up.
I remember they were pumped when they got that pick.
He is
They
damn
said
good.
a lot of good things about
I love
Sexton.
to have him.
God,
We
but-
never seem to make the Celtics never seem to make the right pick at that spot. It's like
but
you
we
can
traded.
name off so many guys they've taken.
We trade. That's the pick we got for Kyrie.
Yeah, we gave them Colin Sexton for Kyrie. Colin
Yeah,
Sexton
that was
has
8 pick.
and who
I do that trade any day of the week still.
Yeah, exactly.
I wish we just
If
held
you have
on.
a chance to get Kyrie. That's one thing I'll never fault Danny for that trade. Like, if you can run that trade, you run that trade like 10 times out of 10.
Oh, God,
Like,
yeah.
So
Yeah,
tough.
I mean,
knowing what we know now, it's so tough.
Knowing what we know now, certainly you wouldn't do it. But
I don't know. I don't know. What's the benefit of keeping Isaiah? Then you pay Isaiah. Now
We
he's here forever.
Kemba, and we swapped out Kemba for Kyrie at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So it
Isaiah would be making so much
I suppose.
backing up the brink truck.
did you see that Kyrie called out Kemba and said he wants to play him one-on-one?
Kyrie would kill Kemba one-on-one. That's not like basketball. That's Kyrie where he like shines. Let's watch him in a basketball game. Where he has
Real
to-
basketball game. Let him
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Let's go.
You can watch Odell Beckham Jr. go one-on-one. He kill people, but in an actual football game, in a big game, what's he going to do? Nothing.
That's a good point.
Big words, but
I mean, Odell never showed
had
up.
a rough situation last year because Baker had no time to throw the ball, but in a lot of big games he showed up. But still,
Yeah, but he's going to complain now more this year because they got Hooper. And I just feel like he won't get as many. I feel like last year they were forcing him the ball the whole year. Every game, it's like we have to get Odell involved.
Really?
Now-
He had a bad down year.
Well, he was hurt too, but like the beginning of the year, they were trying so hard to get him involved. They do like sweeps to him when they couldn't get him open. They do everything. His only good game is against the Jets, that like 80-yard breakout on Monday Night Football. I mean, you can't blame Odell. Odell was one of the best receivers in the game, and Baker, wasn't the greatest last year, but his offensive line was terrible.
I don't like Odell Beckham, but I definitely respect the talent he has. I think he's a prima donna. I think he's the classic diva cancer in the locker room wide receiver in the mold of a T.O. With also probably less talent than T.O. had. But having said that, I definitely think that he's got top tier skill and can roast most D-backs.
Oh, absolutely. No, I'm not denying the talent. I just like all those rumors over the years, the Pats going to get Odell Beckham Jr. I'm like, please do not get Odell Beckham Jr. He also is making $17 million a season. I I don't know. I just would rather get less receivers in this offense, system players.
So if you could get Odell on the Patriots, would you do it?
I wouldn't.
No,
No?
not with this roster. No, I'll roll with N'Keal Harry. I'll roll with and Julian and whatever last year or second to last year, and then I'll roll with that rookie. Who was the other rookie they had? Who was that guy? He looked
Kobe
good.
Myers.
Yes,
Oh,
I really like Myers.
Yeah.
Don't forget about our boy Sanu. Got another year of that guy.
This could be Edelman's best year, honestly. I mean, he's like healthy.
That's a bold statement.
Old State.
Dude, he's put up. Dude, look at his best statistical years. They're like 1,100 yards.
Oh, I know, but like the defense is going to be all over him, and he's dropping level on quarterback.
N'Keal Harry's going to have a good year this year. If
I
he's
agree.
out of the nightclubs in Boston.
I think that tight end we got.
Does he
from
do a good job of that?
Oh yeah, he does a good job of that. I've seen him out there. He has fun.
Does he at least go to the good clubs? Not like Storyland. What was that place?
Brand and Bijou and clubs like that. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if I saw him at Bijou. I can confirm I saw him at the Grand. Usually,
Stay away from the places Hernandez went. We're good.
yeah. But I mean, you see Edelman and all these guys at like Lincoln, South Boston, Legal's Roof Deck. They're all over the place, as they should have a right to go out. But when you see them out, you don't see guys like Edelman out during the season. And I think that's one thing you got to know is, like, if you're a rookie, you probably shouldn't be going out, especially when you're injured. You shouldn't be at the clubs.
Yeah, you probably should be looking at the playbook, because when he got back, it took him a little while to develop it. It's like you had 8 weeks off. That's all you had to do. You couldn't train. He has all the talent in the world. But I guess he was working with a special foot doctor this offseason to get better off the line, because he couldn't get open off the line of scrimmage. That was his biggest.
I know. He has no separation.
Yeah,
but he's
but
so
once-
big that
once
you
he
just
does,
throw it over
it's like-
there because he can like outbeast the guy.
Exactly. So
He reminds me of Demaryius Thomas. Like, he doesn't catch the ball a lot, like, but he'll drop a lot of targets, like, but he'll like make some big catches, and like when they could just get him the ball, like they would try to get the ball to Harry. They would just give him, carries and stuff, and he would at least get some yards. If he's the type of guy who can take a screenplay deep, I think, too.
I honestly,
He's
last
big.
year, I feel like last year Deebo Samuel would have been better for this team, but I think moving forward, N'Keal Harry will be, because Stidham can air the ball out better than Brady's more like 10-yard ins and outs. The deep ball is Brady's biggest. He's never been the greatest at it.
In 2006. So sorry, go on.
No, I'm good.
Please go on. What were you
No,
saying?
I was just gonna say, like, I think this year, I agree, Harry's gonna have a good year.
In 2006, this rookie wide receiver had 20 receptions, 300 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Ended up he's probably going to be a Hall of Famer if he isn't. I don't believe he is already. Brandon Marshall. It's his first year in the league. Rookie wide receivers. I know that we had a huge breakout with like DK Metcalf and AJ Brown this year, but usually a lot of these guys, they need a year to settle in, learn the offenses, and then be able to use their natural abilities. N'Keal Harry's first-year stats, I think, look very identical to Brandon Marshall's, and I think we're going to see his significant jump. Marshall's sophomore year, he had 102 receptions for 1,300 yards, 7 touchdowns, and I think that's what we're looking at from Harry this year.
Yeah,
I also think you're that bullish on him. You think
I'm thinking 1,100 yards receiving. I'm thinking probably about 90 receptions and maybe 6 or 7 touchdowns. I think that's pretty fair. Not quite that B Marsh level, which was obviously spectacular. He's one of the best receivers I ever played the game, but I do think he's going to have a big time breakout year.
I think DK Metcalf, honestly, is in the perfect spot. Like the Seahawks, like Russell Wilson, the deep pass. DK Metcalf is not a great route runner. He's elite speed, and he's great at deep threats. DK Metcalf would have been a nothing on the Patriots offense. He's on the perfect system. I think N'Keal Harry is a better receiver than DK Metcalf. I think DK Metcalf's in the perfect situation, though. That offense, like play action.
Yeah, he seriously is.
You know,
he just needs to hit a home run twice a game, basically.
Exactly.
They throw him
He's
like
on a 4-3
deep balls a game. he's not going to catch like 7 to 10 balls like he
He
usually
catches 3 passes a game for like 80 yards.
Yeah.
That's a great point. But you know who would have been perfect in the Patriots offense? A.J. Brown.
AJ Brown.
Yeah. Or Debo Samuel.
You saw what he was doing to
Oh,
people.
I
He's a
know.
grown man, and he's got grown man strength, and he's making everyone look like they're playing Pop Warner. These D-backs trying to tackle
I
him.
think the Titans drafted Corey Davis 5th overall.
He's
I know.
Tennessee.
I would love the Pats to get him. He has all the talent in the world.
Wow.
Corey Davis is there was a game against the Pats like 2 years ago. He had 2 touchdowns, like 100 yards. He was beasting us. He has had Ryan Tannehill and
He's been so disappointing.
Marcus Mariota as his quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, he has talent, and he's going to be a free agent next year, and no one, like, he's going to go for like nothing.
I'm pretty sure he's a free agent already. They cut him.
Oh, did they really?
The Titans cut him. I'll check on it right now.
How long has he been on the market, I wonder? I mean,
Let me double check this right
how
now.
could somebody not pick him up? I mean, I would. If
I mean, the
Josh
Buccaneers-
Gordon can get a million chances,
The Buccaneers will pick him up.
They declined his 5th-year option. They didn't cut him. They declined it.
oh, okay.
So basically, they're
So they
saying
Mariota, yeah.
because that's probably like a $15 or $10 million fifth-year option.
How about Trubisky's option? $24 million.
Oh, yeah. So they Trubisky'd him.
Yeah, Corey
Right.
Davis' contract would have been $15 million for the 5th-year option if they extended that. So they're not paying him big boy money in Tennessee. He'll probably be a trade candidate.
It's ridiculous how long you can keep guys in the NFL. You can keep them for that. You could keep them for the 5th-year option and then franchise them twice. Like, you could. It would be easy if you land on a good back like Zeke. You keep that guy like 7 years. You just run him into the freaking ground, and then move on.
I mean, he also has the best offensive line in football. That certainly helps.
Yeah,
But I honestly think the
I think
Cowboys.
Zeke would be good on a bad team though too.
Oh, I agree. But like when Zeke wasn't there, you saw Dak Prescott for what he is. He's a good quarterback, but you don't want to make the same mistake that all these teams have made, like paying Andy Dalton $30 million a year, paying Ryan Tannehill $30 million a year. He's not a $30 million a year quarterback.
Yeah,
That's gonna kill Tennessee. They are gonna
Yes.
hate that deal in a year.
He's got 2 of those. He got paid big time by the Dolphins too. He's had $200 million contracts. Ryan
I'll tell you
Tannehill.
what.
So
I'm-
him and Vic are the only guys to do that, I guess, then. Because I remember Vic was the only guy to have $200 million contracts in the NFL.
The one thing I always heard about Ryan Tannehill in practice, like Brady would, if he threw a pick to a practice squad guy, he'd give him like $100. Ryan Tannehill would like point them out and say, "You suck. You're a loser." Like have them get benched, have them get cut. Ryan Tannehill is a douche.
I'm glad you brought up Dak Prescott because if there's someone who's being overvalued, in my opinion, in any sports league right now, it is Dak Prescott, hands down with the contract offer the Cowboys made. You could put Andy Dalton in that offense, and I think it performs just as well as it does with Dak. And I can't believe his agent is being so greedy that they're telling him to hold out to try to get – so Dak wants a 5-year deal or a 4-year deal so he gets free agency again when he's turning 30 for $35 million a year. And the Cowboys have offered him a 5-year deal for $31 million a year, and he won't accept it.
How do you not take that deal in 2 seconds if you're Dak Prescott? Like, how do you not know what your value
I hope he waits out and Andy Dalton like gets off to a hot start and they're like, we're good. You want to come back for $10 million?
Well, they franchised him, didn't they?
He hasn't
No.
signed a tender yet. They could rescind that and let him hit free agency.
If that guy was on any other team but the Cowboys, he would be like just an afterthought. He got hot the right time like Romo did, like when he took over for Bledsoe, and he won a couple games. He's an athletic quarterback. But that game against the Pats last year was horrendous. He couldn't complete 10-yard passes. It's the same thing with Kirk Cousins. It's the same thing with Josh Allen. It's like these guys are not $30 million quarterbacks. There's 5 quarterbacks in the league that are worth that money. but they get hot at the right time and they force their teams to give it to them.
I think we're going to see a surge in coaches' pay if it isn't already happening. Because you look at guys like Joe Brady and what they're going to mean to the Panthers. I think Teddy Bridgewater is like one of my sleepers this year for like leading the league in passing yards. Look at what he did for Joe Burrow at LSU. I think coaches with installing the right system, just having at least some of the right pieces and players, that's really what wins you games and blows up these numbers.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's just the same franchises do it wrong every single year. But then these other franchises think outside the box by hiring that. Where's the coach from? Baylor or
Matt Rule?
Yeah.
Oh God, where's he from?
I think he might be from Baylor.
Yeah, he's an offensive like guru, and you bring in the guy from LSU, and you have a veteran quarterback with a great running back, elite running back, and you have two good wide receivers.
I think DJ Moore's elite.
He's good, and like it's perfect. It's interesting to see where Cam Newton goes. I honestly don't know. At this point, I don't know where he goes. If the Redskins don't sign him, I think the Jaguars are clearly tanking for Trevor Lawrence if they don't even give him a shot, because you can't tell me that the mustache boy is like he had a couple. He's a backup quarterback. He's like Fitzpatrick.
God, teams are really going to tank for Trevor Lawrence. I'm so sick of this crap where teams tank like 2 years out or a year out, or you just waste the whole thing. They got to change things in the NFL so that
you can't have a good quarterback since Mark Brunell.
Yeah.
Jaguars.
I'm so tired of teams just tanking though for the number 1 pick.
That's won't do it.
Not going anywhere.
Pats won't do it. Yeah.
Every couple of years, the Jaguars a couple of years ago are supposed to the next team. Now look at them.
And yet I'm in fantasy football leagues that stop people from tanking, but the NFL allows it.
Yeah, exactly. We're in a fantasy league too, where you got to pay $150 if you lose.
Hey, Roger Goodell, he's allowing El Prez to come to his house, so he's allowing anything.
Is that officially happening?
He paid the most he won. There's no way that they allow this.
There's no way it happens.
That is so great. Like right after he won it, they were like posting him in like his like Fire Goodell shirt.
Dude, El Prez put up this Instagram post yesterday of, like that scene where like the African American guys are carrying up the what's it called when you put a dead person in it, casket, and they're dancing to that song. And then it's at the bar, like where like they always show it like this big screen and everyone goes nuts. Yeah. And he's just like, I won. And then the place erupts and then they have Brady screaming like, God, that's the last person that you wanted to win. He put the most money up to win, and they actually let him win.
Incredible.
Couldn't think of two more awkward people.
Gotta love America.
So what did you guys think of The Last Dance? I know we wanted to talk more about it.
I wanted to get back into that. I wanted to ask you guys who you thought. I think that Scottie Pippen looks awful. Like they just keep doing whatever they can to make him look awful. And I don't know why it is, but I don't remember those. I never had remembered those stories about him like sitting out. I mean, I thought that was awful when he sat out a playoff game for him drawing up a play for Kukoc. That was pretty ridiculous.
Well, I think it's ridiculous that he sat out, but he wasn't used to being that dominant MJ. Like if they drew up a play for someone who wasn't MJ's looking at Phil and saying, Phil?
Yeah.
No, I'm going to take the last shot. But Scottie just didn't have that mentality. He wanted someone to do right by him. He wanted to come to him.
And he also showed Kukoc hit multiple game-winning shots that year.
He looked
Kukoc hit so many game winners.
Nasty. I didn't know he was this good.
Yeah.
That team was so good.
He was money, and then on that play where they put him in, he hits the game winner too with 1.8 seconds left. That turnaround.
I love when they show Kukoc, like wherever country he's in, they're interviewing him.
They talk so much about Rodman, Pippen, and Jordan with those last three teams, but you look at what Kukoc brought to the table. Steve Kerr. I mean, like.
B.J. Armstrong. B.J. Armstrong and Horace Grant were all-stars the year that Jordan didn't play. Yes. They had 3 all-stars the first year. That was one of the trivia questions. But B.J. Armstrong and Horace Grant were both all-stars the first year that Jordan was out.
And I think I think part of that though is because of what
And
Jordan.
obviously Pippen.
Yeah, Jordan absolutely groomed these guys to be better players, harder workers, better at
He
everything.
carried them along.
Yes.
You could really see that. What did you guys think about when he got emotional about his about talking about his competitive fire?
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I got chills. I was like, oh man, it's like cut. It's like
I couldn't believe like he started like cry. Yeah.
Like then the next episode was, I thought, probably like one of the one or two best episodes so far. Like him coming back, those players like BJ Armstrong, whoever that guy was in the Wizards, like, nice game, Mike. And he's like, I'm gonna score more points in the first half than that guy scored in that last game. BJ Armstrong talking trash. Kenny Anderson, or was it Kenny Anderson on the Magic? Not Kenny.
No,
Yeah.
Nick Anderson.
Yeah, him talking trash. He's like, oh, he's not 45, he's not 23 anymore. And he changes his jersey to 23 and puts up 50. Like, why did teams think that, like, you could talk trash to him? He wasn't human. Like, even when he showed signs of fatigue, like, he didn't play well that first season back because he was tired. That Space Jam thing, like, you'd invite all those players to practice for 3 hours a night, then lift weights every day, like, to get the speed back up to compete against the young people, and then it was just all over from there. His competitiveness is something I've never seen before in any athlete.
Same. That's why I have like such an appreciation for him, is because like that never say die attitude, like that's really what's come across in the documentary. Like he didn't care if he had friends. He didn't care. Like all he cared about is winning. And like still all he cares about is winning. He still looks down on Pippen for like missing some of those games that he took off for his contract. Like,
Yep.
It's amazing that he still holds some of these things because that's how damn competitive he is.
It's freaking nuts. And like some of that, like, they don't talk about in the documentary, but Jordan does do a lot of good things. Like, he donates a lot to charities and no one ever talks about it.
No.
He doesn't want to be in the spotlight. Like, he doesn't care what people think about him. He's like, yeah, this is who I am. I'm an asshole, but I made every single player on that team better. And they all said it. They're like, yeah, he was a dick, but thinking back on it, we wouldn't have got here if he wasn't that guy. He pushed Pippen. He pushed everybody. And that scene where Steve Kerr and like him, he punched Steve Kerr in the face. Steve Kerr's like, oh, our relationship got even better after that. It's like, oh, I just needed to, punch him in the face. But that, it reminded me back to the Celtics days in the 07-08 team. Those practices were like heated battles. Like, they took that stuff as serious as like an actual game. And like Kevin Garnett brought that, but you don't see that anymore. I feel like that competitiveness, like, I'm going to kill you even if you're on my team. And that pushes everybody. And that type of basketball is just so great to watch with the Celtics, but obviously with the Bulls too.
I think that Bulls team, after watching the documentary, I'd put them up against anyone in NBA history. I don't think that anyone, Warriors could have beaten them. I think MJ would have broken the Warriors. The only team that I actually was the KD-led Warriors. I think that might be the only team just because of the sheer talent and style of play.
Just because there's four of them.
Yeah, but I still think the Bulls pull it out.
There's three. You can't include Draymond Green. Draymond Green and Rodman like equal each other out.
Yeah,
Steph Curry wouldn't get a shot off against Jordan.
Yeah, Rodman over Draymond Green all day.
Easily.
They put Pippen on Durant. Like, I think that it would both would win.
Yeah. And then you've got Jordan guard up.
Who's guarding Kukoc? Like,
Klay Thompson. It's that easy.
Yeah.
They put up such insane stats. They showed this stat that Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan were the only two players since 1980 to average at least 22 and a half points, at least 8 boards, and 2.5 steals in a season. Wow. Like, these guys were averaging like 3 steals at being like 6'7". Like, these were huge guys. I think Scottie Pippen, what I learned is like he was way ahead of his time. Like, nobody was as quick as he was. Nobody like could kind of move like a guard. Like, you see kind of how the game has evolved, and like I feel like Kukoc and and him were really two guys that are like ahead, and Pippen were two guys that are like ahead of their time. You look at guys now in the NBA, and you want guys like that all over your roster.
Do you think Pippen becomes Pippen without Jordan pushing him?
No.
Like
Probably
everyone's
not
like,
the ultimate Pippen.
everyone's like, well, Jordan had Pippen, and Pippen's obviously a top 20 probably player all time. But it's not like Pippen was like his first year, he was just another guy. And Jordan's like, no, I need you.
You look at the stats, Pippen's like a Lamar Odom before the crack.
But his defense is like off the charts.
Yeah, if you look up his stats, it's like 15 points.
Right.
Yeah.
You look at Lamar, like that is the player comparison in my head, but like guy brought down rebounds, dished out assists, could run that point forward role. And Lamar Odom, I don't even know if you could say for sure he's a top 100 player.
That first year, Pippen, they're like, oh, Pippen, like
Pippen's a top
Pippen
20
led us.
defender.
Pippen had 22 points that year, his first year without Jordan. It's not like he put up 30 points a game. Like he was an all-NBA player, but
he put up relatively the same amount of points as he
Yeah.
did when he played next to Michael.
yeah, exactly. I mean, they should like that. I will never forget like that. Best part so far in the documentary is when B.J. Armstrong brings Jordan to practice, and he's just like, "I'm going to tear you up, Michael." And they start going back at each other, and Jordan at that point's like, "I'm coming back." Everyone in the building knew this guy is back. Like that is so crazy. He was just playing baseball, and like he's going to be the best in the world.
Doing BJ Armstrong knew what he was doing.
Exactly. B.J. Armstrong's awesome. Like I wish they'd show him more.
Good for him.
I was reading this story from Jackie McMullen that was saying that like Jordan was so close to his dad when he came back. The first game he came back, he had such jitters that he actually like walked out on the court like with his shorts on backwards.
Yeah, they talked
Like,
about in the
he was
documentary.
just so like overcome or whatever. I mean, that's amazing.
Pretty crazy. Sad, man. Really sad. Which, by the way, I want to go back to last week. After seeing that documentary, I think that absolutely – I really, truly believe that Jordan's father dying was just a strict freak coincidence.
Oh, yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
We talked about like, could it ever be gambling? I just don't think – it seemed like there was no link. They said there wasn't like whoever said there wasn't like a thimble full of evidence, but it really seemed to be true.
People saying that Jordan had a gambling problem, he just had a competitiveness problem. Like one of the first episodes where he came up to the guys that were playing like bingo or like one of those card games for $1. And Jordan's like, I'm in. They're like, oh, you don't want to play. He's like, I'm going to take your dollar, and your dollar. I'm going to win. And it's like, these guys are paying for $20,000 back there, and he's coming up to beat all these guys for $1. It's just who he is. He wants to beat everybody, and like obviously he has the most money in the world. So when he golfs, he bets $20,000 like to play. He'll outbet anybody, but that's just because he wants to win.
I agree.
It's crazy, and like he'll like LeBron stuff. LeBron, any ounce of like the competitiveness and like that desire to like
every week with this.
What?
I said every week with this.
I just this just makes it so like true, like, and especially I don't know. I didn't really watch Jordan that much growing up. Like I watched the later years, but it's just crazy. Like you wish.
No, I mean it's so hard to say. Like I said, like I always kind of try to pride myself in being like somewhat objective, and like it's just like you can't watch Jordan and after like watching him this closely, watching him win the 6 championships and be like LeBron is better.
Like, do you think anybody in the NBA has that competitive, like that an elite talent that has that competitive fire?
I think that Russell Westbrook's is close to it, but he doesn't have the talent. Like he can't shoot like Jordan could, and
it's not there.
Yeah,
he's just a freak athlete.
Exactly. Like he just gives you his absolute all, and no one else can. He's like pressing turbo the entire time, whereas everyone else is.
A guy I think has that competitive, like just always working is Jimmy Butler. Like, he's nowhere near that player, but he's a dog. Like, he bought all of his guys basketball hoops when this started. He's like, no, we're still practicing. He goes to the gym at like 4 a.m. Like, that guy's a dog. I wish the Celtics, for God, like, we took Hayward over him. We could have traded that 5th pick. He didn't think that Ainge didn't think Hayward and Butler would mesh well together. It's like, oh.
Case though, he would have been out in Miami. He knew what he was doing. He was forcing his way.
Dude, Butler would have been perfect for this team.
All right, gentlemen, we have my buddy Bobby here, big Chicago fan, calling in long distance from Connecticut.
What's going on, fellas? How are you doing?
What's up,
Bobby?
Bobby, what were your biggest?
I used to work with Bill at Propel Marketing back in the day.
Oh yeah,
in beautiful Quincy, Mass.
Love that.
We used to peddle some SEO to lawyers. Oh yeah.
Anybody that would answer the call, right? Anybody that would answer the phone.
Yeah, those were my favorite to screw over, though.
Yeah. I still have a guy. I still have a landscaper in Kentucky that still emails me, trying to give money back from
trying to get leads
from a website that disappeared. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have the best fulfillment over there those days.
Not so much.
Part of why I left, because everything we do, we would screw it up, and then the clients would stay on for too long.
You live and you learn, right?
Yeah. But anyway, we're talking about The Last Dance. I guess, from all this stuff, we were just kind of talking about biggest winners and losers, and kind of talking about how Scottie Pippen is getting crapped on a lot. Who do you think's like the biggest loser out of this whole, who loses the most out of this whole documentary?
Krause has got to be number one, I mean, and it's really more so, just really this for a Chicagoan, for myself growing up with this stuff, a lot of this is just kind of uncovering stuff that we already knew, but it's stuff that was rumors. And, everybody knew about the Steve Kerr punch from Michael, and everybody knew, nobody really knew that Scottie was getting so shafted the way that he was with his contract and everything. And, I remember being a kid and Scottie, we talked about this. Scottie was my favorite player. Scottie to this day, it's Scottie's my number one. Vince Carter's my number two. So, those guys, they're my Scottie's my man. And at the time I was like heartbroken. It's kind of like I told Eddie once, it was like when Shawn Michaels kicked Marty Jannetty through the barbershop window and he broke the lockers back in the day. It was kind of like that magnitude when Scottie didn't come off the bench. But had I known as a 10-year-old kid that Scottie's contract was so terrible, and that his relationship with the ownership was so bad, that my perspective would have been a lot different, So it's so for me as a Chicagoan, it's actually making me understand why Scottie did what he did, and it's
Bobby, what'd you think of? I think it was after they won their first or second championship. They're interviewing Krause afterwards, and he's like, this is an organization from the GM to, it was like making it more about him and like the scouting and all this stuff rather than the players. And that was just a true testament to he wanted credit so badly.
Yeah. It's that's a great point, because the two guys that he really had the most influence bringing into the organization were Scottie and Tony, were Pippen and Kukoc. And they're the two guys that probably have the most stressed relationship with the organization. Tony came in and never felt like he was really all that welcomed. And Scottie, clearly had issues his entire career with the organization. So both the two guys that Krause takes the most ownership of bringing in, they had the worst relationships, and you look at Horace Grant left on bad terms. They didn't re-sign. That was a little thing that kind of got glossed over. They didn't really even pick up Horace Grant's contract. What if they picked up Horace Grant's contract? Scottie Pippen,
was it unlimited? Was there
what's that?
Was there a salary cap back then?
I don't want to say yes or no. I'm not sure.
Didn't that more to do with the fact? Wasn't he like the insider in that book or something about the turmoil inside the locker room?
That's what a lot of people.
Oh God,
a lot of people
yeah.
say.
People say that, but
imagine if that happened today. What would happen?
My thought is there's never
snitches
just
get
one
stitches.
source. There's always guys. There's always multiple guys that are leaking stuff, and because there's always guys that are unhappy. But no, Kraus. That's an interesting point because I coach high school basketball and football, and you've always got those coaches and those assistant coaches that, as when the team does well, they just can't help themselves, but want the credit, and they like seek the credit out, and it's not enough for them. And this is just at the high school level. It's not enough for them to just step aside and let the players be the focal point. And that's kind of what Kraus. Kraus was that little guy on the side. He was the squints. The team manager, and that was his time to shine. And it's a little man complex to the max.
You know what would have made me the maddest being Scottie Pippen was finding out that they paid Jordan the $3 million. They're like, oh well, we might as well just pay him because he's made a lot of money for a lot of people, and they were screwing. At the same time, they're screwing over Scottie Pippen. The guy stays on the team, does the right thing, makes the commitment, and then they just completely continue to pay him less than Michael Jordan earned more money to not play than Scottie earned to play.
That's insane. Yeah. I mean, you heard them all talking about Scottie. Like you could hear them talk about Scottie. Like he did everything for like a stat that some people know, some people don't. He led the Bulls in every statistical category in 94, 95. Like and you had Horace Grant, or I don't know if you still had Horace Grant, but you had Tony Kukoc on the squad. You had other guys that were legit players. I think Grant was still on the squad in 94, and Scottie leads them in every statistical category.
Yep.
And he finishes like third in the MVP. It's amazing that he stays on with a crap contract. He basically replaces Michael as the leader of the team, which, I mean, come on. If LeBron James walks off the court on any of the teams that LeBron's played on, can you actually say that there's a teammate that would just replace LeBron? Like that would just come on and be the next guy? Maybe Dwayne Wade, maybe.
Kevin Love hasn't done it yet.
I'd say you could argue Dwayne Wade, but would be a decent comp. But yeah,
right. But he still couldn't do you couldn't take a guy and do what LeBron did for the team because
same thing with Scottie Pippen. If Scottie left, though, who's going to come and do Scottie's? It's just like it's kind of like I don't think you can really make that point necessarily and make it that impactful.
But that year was Phil Jackson's best coaching year. Like, that doesn't really get talked about. Just because I think everyone and obviously this is a Jordan documentary, so everything's so hyped on Jordan. I think a lot of players, and coaches don't get recognized as much in certain situations.
No, did you see the ball movement when the year Michael was out?
Oh, it's crazy.
The ball movement, the triangle offense, in a lot of ways, operated better when Michael was not on the team because the ball was moving and the scheme and the offense was just, it's a selfless offense. It's completely opposite of the isolation game that's played now. And, it's just, it's funny. Everybody thinks the Warriors are this like anomaly, and the Warriors, the way that they move the ball and they play selfless and all this, it's like, well, that's kind of how the game used to be. It's just that a lot of people generationally don't remember that the game was played that way.
When you think about it, going to Phil, it's amazing that he was able to make two of arguably maybe the most selfish players, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, play in the triangle. You know what I mean?
Shaq too. Shaq was a selfish dude. Shaq needed his shots also. Yeah. And what he did with the Lakers was that's a great point, Bill. What he did with the Lakers was really impressive. To do that with two guys that are volume shooters like that, and Kobe and Shaq. Yeah,
I know. There wasn't a whole lot aside from that. You had like Derek Fisher, and I mean, you really didn't have much mean,
Big shot
that's
Bob.
like one thing you can say about these teams, I'd say, is that they're really built around like two superstars. You look at teams nowadays, everybody's got that like three. Like you can really see how the NBA changed.
Yeah.
It's like everybody had 2 stars back in the 90s. Now you have to have 3 stars. Like
What do you think the Rockets are doing watching this? They're like, what is this ball movement that these guys are doing? How do they pass to like all these players?
I'll tell you what, Harden's dribbling a ball in his living room. Harden's getting his 500 dribbles a game in.
Dribble 45% of the time.
These guys didn't just go to the rim for fouls and shoot 30 a game. Like, what is this basketball we're watching here?
Yeah, some of the stats from Michael's career are just like I didn't even know are just crazy. Like he only averaged 8.2 free throws a game, and the crazy stat. Ed actually said this the other day. Ed Bratz, Michael Jordan didn't even see a 3-point line until 1981. Like he didn't attempt a 3-pointer. Everybody said his 2-point game and his mid-range game was so great because there was no 3-point line when he was in college. So
imagine if he could have focused on the 3 like as maniacally as he would have.
And I mean, everybody's like, "Oh, you're a Chicagoan. You're gonna be Michael. You're gonna die as Michael being the greatest player." But the guy's 3-point percentage went from like 23% to like upwards of 40% when he was in his last 3, 4, 5 years. So clearly, if he focused on that, like any professional athlete, if you focus on something, you're going to get better at it. And
how about that series against the Rockets and Clyde Drexler? Clyde Drexler is like a good 3-point shooter. He's like, I'm going to beat him in his own game. It's like 3, 3, 3, 3.
Oh, the Blazers series, yeah. I know.
Yeah.
What's funny is I always joke. I know that series really well because there was a video game for Sega Genesis called Bulls versus Blazers, and my older cousin always made me be the Blazers, and so I knew Clyde Drexler and Orlando Woolridge and Terry Porter. I knew those Blazers like the back of my hand because I never got to be the Bulls.
Terry Porter.
Terry Porter from Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
Yeah,
went to some school like UW Stevens Point or something, some small Division III school. Terry Porter, freaking NBA All-Star.
What do you think's next in the next couple episodes? What do you think they haven't shown that they will?
The Pacers series, bro. Gonna try hold myself back from punching Reggie Miller straight through my TV screen.
Why? What did Reggie Miller do in the series?
Oh, Reggie just was like he was. If you're a Yankees fan, Reggie Miller was Pedro. If you're a if he was like he was the second coming of John Starks for the Bulls. He was that guy who he just epitomized everything that Michael despised. So as a Chicagoan, you hated him. He was just everything he did. And then there was the whole ankle thing where they thought he rolled his ankle in the game, and then he comes back and he hits the game-winning shot and he's jumping around and there's nothing wrong with him.
Hey, Paul Pierce did that. We don't care.
Paul Pierce was in a wheelchair.
Yeah, but I mean, Paul Pierce at least you could tell his ankle was somewhat hurt.
Reggie Miller used to take threes and stick his leg out. Like he kind of started that.
Oh yeah, he started that.
For what it's worth, the way the Pacers utilized him, and I think that the Pacers, they probably were the best team that the Bulls saw in those last 3 years. But he just everything about Reggie, you just couldn't stand him. It's just he was the perfect guy. The common theme for all this has been Michael finding little things to motivate him, or even like making up stories to motivate him. And but Reggie, there was no Michael hated Reggie almost as much as he hated Isaiah.
It's like Michael hated everyone in the NBA.
Yeah, seriously, he had one friend, his father, and that one friend that was his support system. That his driver, George.
Yeah, George actually is my aunt's neighbor. I've actually known him. Right. I've known him since I was like 7, 8 years old.
Wow, that's a small world, and that's Jordan's best friend.
Yeah, no, he lives on a side street bungalow in Chicago, just right by Portage Park on the north side. He's just a regular dude, no lavish house, nothing, just kind of, just does his thing. Real to himself kind of guy.
Jordan's funneling money somehow.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. But the I think last I watched it last night. At the end of episode 7, when they asked Michael about being a nice guy and like how he approached the game and how he drove his
Armstrong
teammates.
has to think.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like how the way he approached the game, how it maybe was a sacrifice of him being considered a nice person or a nice guy, and he kind of hesitates, and and then at the end of it, he's like basically in tears, and he tells them to break. I think that has a lot to do with just the fact that the way guys competed back then, and the way that it was like this all or nothing, whatever it takes mentality. I think as he's gotten older, he's in his 50s, whatever now, I think he kind of looks back and, I don't want to say he has regret, but maybe he just thinks about maybe doing it a different way or, possibly. But the hard thing is that you can't argue with the guy's success. I mean,
no,
he's the ultimate winner.
A lot of talking.
That's just, and I mean, he even says it. He's like, if you couldn't do it and I have to get up in your ass, then that's what I'm going to do. And he said, winning and leadership are, they take sacrifice and they come at a cost. And that was the mentality back then, though.
Scott Burrell talked about how annoying he could be if you weren't like absolutely obsessed with basketball. Yeah. And I could kind of picture that. Like if you weren't in 100%, you're one of those guys who likes to go out and party. Like Jordan would have like sucked to be a teammate. Like
except Rodman, he can go to Vegas.
Oh man!
Well, they're hands off with Rodman.
Yeah, they're like Vegas. You can go hang out with Carmen Electra. We don't care. Just be
Rodman
back.
was the set. But do you hear when Rodman talks about the team and about Michael? Like Rodman says, like you can feel the affection for when Rodman talks. Like he says, Michael trusted me. I could trust Michael. We could trust Scotty. Like he always talks about how the relationships were really strong. And I think that Michael's tenacity, it came from those first 3 years when he came out of the Bulls, and the Bulls were just a train wreck of a franchise. And he's with, he told the stories. Guys are doing coke in the hotel rooms and stuff, and like I think that meant that drive was set up there, is that he felt like he was the only guy that wanted to win in that whole franchise.
He also came from a great college program. Dean Smith ran a great program at UNC. And they were always like in the top, like always running for the national championship. Then he goes to the Bulls, and they're not even relevant. And like these guys are doing like cocaine stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean,
nobody thought that he could. Nobody thought at the time that he was going to lead a franchise. When he was drafted, they were talking about how you needed a big man, and like the question was a guy like Jordan the type of guy that could lead you to a championship? And obviously he ends up leading you to 6 championships, way more than anybody. Hakeem, you can argue was a good pick, but you can't argue going back. If you look at it, you can't argue that Jordan wasn't a better pick,
Yeah, no, well, I mean, at the time, and this kind of brings the 3-pointer back into play. At the time, if everything was worth 2 points, and you got a guy that you can draft that's 7 feet tall with Hakeem Olajuwon's ability, and then you look over here and you got a guy that's 6'6", and he's kind of a streaky shooter, was really only the best player on his team his last 2 years. He had James Worthy and Sam Perkins and those guys in North Carolina. I mean, Hakeem's the hands down draft pick. It's kind of a no-brainer. Yeah. I think even Reinsdorf said he would have drafted Olajuwon if he had the first pick. And, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but Olajuwon in my lifetime, Olajuwon's the best post player I ever saw in real life, and
most skilled for sure.
I mean, it was just what he did to Shaq in the mid '90s when Shaq was skinny, like athletic Shaq.
I know.
Olajuwon just carved him up. I mean, it's I'd be hard pressed to put somebody above Olajuwon just because of what he did to Shaq and just because of how he beat Shaq straight up.
At least you're not the Trailblazers and took the guy at the second pick and then took Greg Oden instead of Kevin Durant.
Oh, brutal.
Well, you know, the karma of it is we're sitting right now as Bears fans with Trubisky, and we're looking at Watson and Mahomes saying this is karma for that draft.
Hey man, you got Big Dick Nick coming. You're good.
We
Oh, yeah.
we'll have to do another session for that one because
Yeah.
I'm not sold on Foles, to be honest. There's a
I
reason
wouldn't
why
be either.
if you're a
He seems to
backup,
be
there's
like
a reason why you're a
perfect
backup.
quarterback.
Billy, to be honest, I had I known they were going to go after a veteran, I would have just said save up and go get Brady. You know,
Exactly.
Chicago would have been a better landing place.
Go
for him
all
than
in,
Tampa.
yeah.
You know, I mean,
I look at the Colts and I'm like, why didn't they go all in? They went all in on an old quarterback. Why not just do it on Brady?
Brady wanted to stay on the East Coast because his son's in New York.
I'm just saying, if the Colts wine and dine and full press on Brady, offer him $30 million, who knows?
Yeah, but
Make it
but,
interesting.
but the coach of the Buccaneers said, "All right, come on down. We'll have some beers. We'll talk about it." Brady's like, "Oh, I can have a beer."
Who is it? It's Arians, right? Is it Bruce
Yeah.
Arians? I
You
mean,
can just hop it wherever you want, Tom. Oh, great.
he is. I mean, he's a tremendous. From what I know of Bruce Arians, he's a tremendous offensive coach, and he's. I actually wanted the Bears to hire him back when they picked up, Mark Trestman or whoever. But
Interesting to see how Brady does his first year though, because every year the quarterback is in Aaron's system. They throw the most interceptions in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, Brady doesn't throw interceptions, but they struggle. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the scary thing is his targets, though. I mean, he's got some targets down there. Mike Evans is no joke. He is a dude, and if Gronk is anything close to what he's been in the past, that's a top 50 tight end.
Yeah, and Gronk's the third tight end option on that.
I think Gronk's playing
Right.
like 30 plays a game, honestly, like red zone, and I don't think his body can handle like full time.
Well, we know he's not playing safety. That's for sure because we saw that one in Miami.
The Miami Miracle, yeah.
Oh God.
No.
Well, hey, that's gonna do it for us. Went a little bit over there, but had to get Bobby in.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Sorry, I had to put the baby down.
No, absolutely.
Priorities.
Yeah.
Nobody's going anywhere fast right now, I don't think so. But that's going to wrap it up for us on another edition of Open Season. Gentlemen, see you next week.
See ya.
Good talking to you guys.